Do you believe in fairies and have a curious mind?
Have you had a close encounter of the fairy kind?
Join us, your fae guides, to enchantment and lore.
Pixies, goblins, elves, mermaids, and more.
Conversations vast and varied.
As we ponder,
What the fairy? Hello and welcome to What the Fairy. I'm your host, Anastasia, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Emma. Hello, Emma.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
And Claire. Hi, Claire.
hi Anastasia, hi Emma.
So this is the first episode of What the Fairy podcast, where we talk about fairies, of course, and different topics associating them. In future episodes, we talk about stones like hagstones and altars and fairy books. It's a mixture of information and anecdotes. So today is going to be focused on personal experience because each of us is going to briefly share our individual history and relationship with fairies. We thought it'd be an interesting way for you to get to know us and a bit of our perspective, perhaps. So I believe Emma is going to start with her story.
Hiya. Oh, where to begin with this? So, I basically have had a connection with what I've always called the other realms, the other worlds, ever since I can remember. I've seen things, heard things, smelt things, that other people can't. But when it comes to fairies, I think my first fairy experience happened, it would have been in the second house that we lived in as a family. And I had a couple of spooky things happen in the previous house, but this particular house seemed to be full of fairies, and in the garden, and they often used to obviously appear in my bedroom as well. So you're probably talking between the ages of like 5, must have been about 5 and maybe 8, 7, 8. We lived in that house for, it was a good few years we lived there, maybe even a little bit longer. But yeah, so I did an episode on Claire's wonderful podcast talking about some of these experiences, fairy whispering, and I used to just see them on my bedroom windowsill in the mornings. And this happened on a regular basis as well. And there would just be these little people. And I always knew, even from that age, they were fairies, all different types. Some of them had wings, some of them didn't. There was some male, some female, and there was also like a little goblin looking character that I used to see quite a lot. I was never afraid. I just used to sit and watch them. And I do feel like they knew I was there, but they just weren't bothered by me at all. They just went about their business, and I just was desperate to see them. So badly wanted to see them, like in, from behind the curtain. And I'd creep out of bed and go over and whip the curtains back really, really quick, and there'd be nothing there. Nothing at all. Nothing on that windowsill either that would ever cast a shadow, whether the shapes that I saw or anything. So that's really sort of like one of my earliest fairy experiences, and like I said, that happened a lot. And I did tell my mum. This is part of the account that just makes me go, oh, because I remember telling my mum that I'd seen fairies on the windowsill, and obviously she listened, and luckily I did come from a family where they never really shut anything like that down. They'd listen, and you know, just hear what you had to say about it. And my mum still to this day can remember me telling her that I've seen fairies on the windowsill. So she remembers me telling her, which I think is, I don't know, it just makes it more real and special that even my mum remembers that. So yeah, that was one of the big ones in that house. I did have a couple of little gnomes that used to visit me as well in that house, and they'd climb up the I had a wooden frame bed, so my mum used to hang my dressing gown on the end of my bed post, and these little gnomes, who were only young as well, would climb up the dressing gown and like up over the belt and then fall onto my bed at the foot of the bed. And they often used to show up, I think, if I was scared of anything. If I was like feeling upset or feeling scared at night, they'd appear, and all they ever did was make these silly noises and like roll about like little tots would, and make me
How
laugh.
big were they?
Oh, they were tiny. About the height of like a mug. You know, like if you were gonna have a mug of tea. So that small. But they had those ones, they were definitely only young at the time as well. Like kids. Or at least they came to me that way. And they had orange, typical gnomes, typical sort of like garden gnome look about them. No big beards though. When I was little, they didn't have the big beards. Really rosy cheeks, I remember, and they had orange pointy hats on, and yellow like long sleeve tops and brown trousers. I specifically remember the colours of when they were young. And then I had like a dream visitation only a year or two ago. And I did draw a picture of them, which I believe Claire showed on one of the episodes of her podcast as well. And it was definitely the same gnomes had like come back to visit me now that I'm grown and they're grown. And they're on tiny little white ponies. And they were just running around through this like opalescent mist, like a dream visitation this was. And they just put their hand up and like acknowledged me and then rode back off into the mist. But I'm positive it was the same beings.
Were the clothes the same too?
Saying hello again. Yeah, and their clothes had changed colour now. They were older. They had the big beards, and they had the typical red pointy hat, blue top, and like brown trousers on. So something had changed with age there. So
Adorable.
yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
just numerous accounts all the time, but they're like my like early ones. And I saw probably when I was about 11, the pixie at my nan's house, which I've also talked about before. I didn't actually see that one as in like the whole being. It was just like a shadow form that I saw it. But I could clearly see it as it like glided in through the patio doors and then like zipped down underneath this little folding table and went behind the TV unit and disappeared.
Like a humanoid shadow?
Yeah. Typical sort of pixie, but maybe sort of the size of like a Barbie doll type size, that one was. Definitely male. So I could see all the details on his clothes and everything as well. Even though it was just like a shadow, I could see the little curls on his cuffs and like round his collar. And then he just really quickly like zipped underneath the table and went behind the TV stand that was in the corner. And that was another thing again where I specifically remember running and telling my nan I've just seen a fairy, and she just said, well, aren't you lucky? Aren't you a lucky girl? And then years later, she remembered me telling her that as well. She actually remembered that moment. So yeah, it's just lovely. So yeah, lots, lots and lots of fairies about.
I love all the support and encouragement from your family.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think that's important. I mean, for people of any age, really, but especially a kid, I think, to not really have that shut down in them.
Do
Because I
you
think the world does that, doesn't it, to you?
Mm. Do
Especially
you
this modern world. Once you go through education system and all of that, it can shut that sort of psychic part of people down, can't it?
mm,
Yeah.
that will, yeah, I'll be talking about that.
So yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing to me. That's my earliest
Yeah.
earliest ones, I think.
Mm.
So, did it, when did it reintroduce, like, when did your relationship or interest in fairies reintroduce itself?
Well,
Because I'm
it
guessing
never
it kind of
really,
had a lapse, or maybe it didn't.
yeah, it's never really gone away. I've always had, I don't know, pictures and books and, films, anything with a fairy on it or in it, I've always loved. But in regards to sort of like connecting with spirit psychically and things like that, I would say very much when I started to approach my teenage years, which often happens, doesn't it, with
Yeah.
people? It
Oh.
used to frighten me, it used to scare me so much, and like the things that I would be seeing and whatnot. And I suppose you just don't want to be that way at that age. You just want to fit in, don't you, really? Find your a group of people where you can belong. And if something like that's happening, you feel a bit like, oh. So yeah, I did shut it down for a bit. And then I would say probably late 20s, mid to late 20s is when I really started to open up to that again. And
Why do you think that was, Emma? What happened in your life at that time, do you think, to
what
help
to
you
close it down, I
to,
think really, well, I got bullied at school. I do
yeah.
really think that once hormones kicked in, you go up to secondary
Mm.
school, that's when
Yeah.
the pressures of life, I don't know, just started to kick in more. And I just desperately wanted to fit in. I remember just desperately wanting to fit in with like a group of people.
Yeah, it's interesting that it was in your mid-20s that you then opened up again. And I was
Mm.
just wondering what the circumstances were around that.
I think by that point, I'd met my, well, like now husband,
Hmm.
and we'd I'd moved away from home. So I moved from the southeast of England to the northeast, so quite a distance away. And that was my first time actually living away from my parents as well. So to suddenly be moving all that away from everybody and everything that I'd ever known, that was like quite a big life change. And I
Mm.
think it was really then that I just started figuring out who I was more. And I'm still doing that. I'm still working on that now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think especially then that's when it all started to really like who actually am I as a person? What
Mm.
makes me tick, sort of thing. And yeah, that just started to wake up again. And that's back
Mm-hmm.
full force, and I'm never going to shut it down again. It can't be shut down now. It's just
Good.
it's there. But it's more common than you think, isn't it? Like the amount of times I've opened up about that, and then you hear other people say that
Mm.
it often happens, I think,
Yeah,
at that
particularly, I
age.
mean, there was so many bedroom experiences, which it's probably the most common place to have a paranormal experience. and the most common age, just being a child. So it's super
Yeah.
common. It's really interesting.
And
And
it
I
was
think it's
something
interesting that
about
it
that
didn't scare.
house
Yeah.
as well, because a lot of the stuff happened in that house, in that
Mm,
bedroom. Once we moved, I didn't have anything like that
mm,
again. So again, I've often thought, what was, I don't know, the history of the land where that house was, or
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be ley lines or anything, couldn't it?
Mm. Or maybe it was just
Mm.
like my age.
Mm.
yeah.
There was definitely something about that house where lots of stuff happened.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah.
And then it didn't scare you when you were little, and then when you were a teenager, it did. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
there's so much more turmoil once you're a teenager, inner and outer.
Yeah,
Just
that's it.
life in general is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I
Yeah.
feel lucky to have had those experiences. And I look back now and I just think, oh wow.
Yeah. And maybe your family's attitude had a part in that because
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah, I do just think that I don't know. It's like I don't have children, but I know you don't. If there's a scary experience, you want to comfort them, but I don't know. I think there's different ways we can do it by than just by saying that's not real because that's never helped anyone.
No.
It's people talking about their experiences in life and their parents saying it's not real. Did it did
Mm.
it change? No, they still remember it as a real
Mm.
experience. So I don't think that's helpful.
Mm.
Whether it's real or not, better just I don't know. Maybe Claire as a parent can say something, but maybe just to say you're safe or
Um,
here's how you protect yourself. I don't know.
I I just always accepted my children, whatever they said to me growing up. I tried because of, I tried not to push it too much because obviously, I didn't want to put my beliefs too much on them. So I
Mm-hmm.
just listened and said, "Oh, that's interesting," and it's only and then going out into nature with them and sharing my beliefs or just encouraging this sense of play and imagination, I would say, which they both enjoyed, and they've just found their own way now as teenagers. My son doesn't believe in it. He questions everything I say, which is good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know. And yeah, we have some interesting conversations. And my daughter is interested in the supernatural through her interest in Japanese folklore and anime and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So she's open-minded to it, but you know, we're all different, aren't we? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So to kind of round off your experiences, Emma, how would you describe where you are nowadays with your relationship to fairies? Not sure if you can hear
Sorry, I've
me.
just had to go and let the cat in. He was meowing at the door.
That's okay. I
um,
was saying, did you hear me or should I repeat myself?
Repeat yourself. Sorry.
Cool. It's okay. So to kind of round off your perspective now, where would you describe yourself at in your relationship with fairies now, present day?
Um, they're they're kind of part of my everyday life, really now. Again, uh, I enjoy knowing that they're there. The connection, like, because obviously I'm outside working a lot. Um, so yeah, I just enjoy being out in nature, and I love going to like places that I go to all the time because the place sort of recognises me now as well. So I feel like I've got a bit of a bond with certain spirits of place now.
Mm.
So that's really good. But yeah, they're definitely there. That's all I can say. I definitely feel them, see them. And yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
I love it.
Cool. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, interesting. Hmm.
Did you have any other questions for Emma, Claire?
Hmm.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I might have later, but yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
you're going to share your experiences now, Anastasia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, unfortunately, as much as I'd like for it to be, it's not so much really experiences, but just kind of, yeah, my relationship with my interest, I guess. So, I mean, as a child, I've always been drawn to things spooky and magical and morbid and strange, and I can't really trace the interest back to one particular thing or a root. It feels like I was just born with them. I just feel like I was born a little spooky child, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. Um, but I did love media, like certain media, like movies. Emma and I have talked about movies that were very important to us. Like I'm sure we all loved Labyrinth and Legend by Ridley Scott was a big one for me, and movies like that portrayed fairies in such a real, to me, like a realistic way. I was just like, oh, I was really, really into that. And I had a small woods behind my house. And so I would play in there a lot. And I'm really thankful I had that, even though it was very small, that nature space because I've always loved and connected with nature as well. And I felt like fairies were a part of nature. So if I was going to find them, hopefully you'd be back there. And so I would just look at the woods and be like, please, can I see a fairy? And just really yearn for this experience to know that they're real. And because I really thought that they were, but I didn't have like a real life confirmation. And, I didn't really get one, but as you get older, maybe you find that it's pretty rare, like Emma, to have these experiences where it's like you see them with your eyes. Um, so maybe they can turn up in other ways, but I don't know. I got older, and as I'm getting older, especially with fairies, I really thrived in this interest in ghosts and stuff when I was more of a teenager and a young adult. And that was definitely a more accepted belief, even though it's not, there's still plenty of people who think that is a silly belief, but it's way more accepting to believe in ghosts than it is in fairies. So, especially in America, that's just not, I mean, the UK has a history of fairy lore, whereas the Western US doesn't really, um, in a mainstream aspect. So it kind of went to the back of my mind and I did have the interest always, like Emma was saying, I love fairy books, and later in my teens finding Brian Froud's books, um, and seeing those in particular. This is a sentiment I feel like Emily you've shared too. That looking at his artwork, I'm just like, oh, I just feel like this is what they really look like. I feel like he captured it, and this is what they look like. And so I always had this kind of like X Files, like I want to believe, I really feel like I do believe, but I just like the world, being in the world makes you feel like you shouldn't. So I had to kind of wrestle with that. And had a lull, so definitely a lull in adulthood of overt fairy interest. And even in time, like a paranormal interest too. There's just so much going on in your life, just real not saying that these things aren't real, but real material things going on that just, yeah, take the place, and you're finding yourself. And then I resonated with what you were saying, Emma, because like late 20s, came to this place where I felt like I was like, I feel like I'm myself again. I feel like I'm finding myself again. These interests I had when I was younger, they're coming back up to the surface. And that was a really good, refreshing feeling. And then I started my own podcast and channel, Goblin Queen. And I started out with just kind of more like haunting, paranormal, weirdness, um, creatures, things like that. And then I was doing one episode on high strangeness, and I was reading this essay by Dr. Jack Hunter, and he referenced the fairy census. And I was like, what is that? So I sought that out, and it just blew my mind. And honestly, I'm not even exaggerating when I say it changed my life to find the fairy census, because here is, at that point, 500, now 1,000 and counting, people saying really had these experiences. These are real. And that just touched my heart. And it just made me, I don't know, it was just like an affirmation, because I always wanted to believe, but I felt like it was silly, or whatever it may be. And all these people coming forward and saying that, no, I have seen a fairy, and I stand by that. And
Mhm.
so that was life changing for me. And then, so after that, I started doing very focused episodes on my channel, and I was like, oh yeah, this is actually my main interest. I'm coming out as a fairy fairy lover. And then ever since then, it's just really reignited this interest I had starting back in childhood in folklore and fairies. And yeah, so I mean, I love them both. I love the folklore, and I love people's real experiences, and I like finding where they overlap. And now, yeah, fairies are definitely part of my everyday life as well. Just in that I'm always reading and writing and thinking about them and seeking them out. Yeah, so experiences I feel like I do have, but it's in it's in meaning I assign to them, like having a walk in the woods, and just a feeling that you get there, or an animal that you see and you come across that just has a special feeling to them. Yeah. And here I am now
Yeah.
talking about fairies.
Because
And it's
I
great to
do
have fairy
think that
friends.
sometimes you don't, like Brian Froud wrote that in one of his books, that you
Mm,
don't see fairies with your eyes, you see them with your heart. And I
Mm.
I
really
know.
do
Yeah.
think that's part of it. Like
Yeah.
that
It
you
just
see
took me a
them
while.
psychically. Like you might not
Hmm.
necessarily actually see them with your physical eyes, but you see them
Mm.
inside.
Exactly. It
And
took me
yeah,
a while
it's
to figure that out. I felt like I need to see them with my eyes. And yeah, I did read that from him later, that that's how he sees whatever he paints. It's more of a inner experience. Yeah, I remember even having his oracle deck that's like, this is how you see fairies, and I'm reading it like, I better see them. So maybe
Yeah.
not try so hard.
And since we've been doing this together, we've had synchronicities between the three of us, haven't we? So that was the
Oh yeah.
question I was going to ask you, Anastasia, is since you've embraced fairies more, have you noticed any shifts in your, I don't know, perception of the way that you see things in nature, or are you the way that you interpret experiences that you have?
So
Mm.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. And yeah, synchronicity is like, as a kid, I had a lot of more like I thought I lived in a haunted house. And so I would have a lot of like physical experiences with footsteps, noises like that. And now in like present day adult life, I find that my strange otherworldly experiences are things like synchronicities, which happen all the time. And yeah, it just I see I use like so much symbology in my perspective of life. I just assign this meaning and this like yeah, like storytelling, which came up before we were recording, this storytelling view of life and just viewing life as like a magical story.
Yeah, and you're good at making links, but you sort of mentioned that you're good at making links between different things, aren't you? And that's something you
Mm-hmm.
enjoy as part of your
Yeah,
research. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, and dreams are a big part of it too.
Mm.
yeah. Because you have that dream that you shared with me for an
Yeah,
episode we
which
recorded.
yeah, the
Yeah.
fairies census. I submitted an experience of the fairy census that was a dream, but it was one of those dreams that hits different. It just felt different. I had one of those last night actually too, on the full moon, the new moon. It's just they're different. They're not this flat stress stream processing of the day's stimulus. It's like on this grand, to me, it feels like it's on this grand scale. And even, yeah, in that dream, I literally was small in like a big world. There was like, I was in um, a dark forest and there was, I was walking down a path in this dark forest and there was a big mushroom, like an Amanita muscaria mushroom. And it was twice the size of me. And there was this enormous fairy sitting on top of it. And I was just like, whoa. Um, yeah. So this dream experience I had interacting with that fairy, well, I didn't interact with that fairy. She kind of scared me. So I just kept walking. And then I came across upon in like a garden space, there's another extremely large mushroom, and on top of that, this big fairy that it was so strange looking. He kind of looked like he had like a little toad kind of body. He was set up and he had like a little toad body in his little hands in front of his chest, and his head was his face looked like a blobfish, which I don't know if you have seen a blobfish, but it's just kind of this gelatinous folded mess with two beady eyes and like this flat little mouth. He kind of looked like that, and he was like this slimy greenish skin. And I was scared of the fairy I saw before, who looked like kind of like a Tinkerbell fairy, a winged woman in a dress. She was very intimidating, and she was kind of glaring down at me like, "What are you doing here?" So she was very scary. And then this weird toad blobfish fairy, which in my head I was like, well, I know that's a fairy too. I just knew it. And he was very friendly, and he was like smiling down at me. And I had this like mind speak from him that just said, if you need anything, just ask. And then my
Mm.
dream switched. It was like, when you're dreaming and it just swaps to another dream, it's like someone changed the channel. Just like you're in another dream. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And before that, going into that dream, before I went to sleep, I was like, I really kind of like when I was a kid, but this was like 2021 or something. So I was fully an adult. I just thought, I really just want to see a fairy and dream about a fairy, please. And I did. And that's not something I've ever been able to do where I can like pick what I want to dream about because I've tried. You have like a crush on somebody and you're like, can I please have a dream about them? And it's never worked, but it did work that night. So it was very meaningful to me, even though it was a dream. And to some people, that doesn't mean anything.
So you were like late 20s, on nearly
I was,
30?
yeah, or maybe 30. I'm 33 and it's 2025. So some math.
Yeah,
Yeah.
around that time.
Sure.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cusp age, I think. from your like 25 to 30. So you're
Oh
really
yeah.
going from being a young adult to a mature adult.
Hmm.
And yeah.
I definitely felt a shift when I turned 30
Mm.
in a very good way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I love how the perspective was like the other way around though.
I
In that
know.
dream, like you were the size of a fairy and they were the size of a
I
human.
know.
Like
I know. It's very strange.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that the one
It's
that
interesting.
other people would perceive to be the more sort of creepy looking one was the one that you
Hmm.
weren't scared of. And I've experienced that in
Hmm.
Fae that I've encountered where some people would think they're really
Mm.
scary or creepy, but they're fine. They just
Yeah.
look a bit different.
Yeah, and I've always been
Yeah.
drawn to creepy stuff in general, but I like
Mm,
the scary fairies. I like the unseelie fairies. Those interest me more. I don't know. It's just like a complexity, I guess,
yeah.
Mm. There's a
to them.
there's a lot about fairy appearance that really it's so what do you call it? It's very much of now, isn't it? About not judging people for their appearance or, their beliefs or sexuality or anything. Fairies very much represent that.
Hmm.
It's sort of, don't judge a book by its cover kind of thing. They're not black and white.
Yeah, and what you see is not
Yeah,
always what you get because they
yeah,
use glamour and whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very much, was it like
Mm.
the Victorians that
Hmm.
came
Who
up with the
made
little cross
the
and the
little winged
winged
fairies?
depiction? Yeah,
Right.
because they were never like that in
Mm.
the old Fey lore. They
Yeah,
were
there weren't
always
even
very much
wings
part of the
before.
landscape, weren't they? And
Yeah, more like Brian Froud. That's the more
yeah,
way I see them as well, just as
that's
part
how
of
I see
nature.
it.
Yeah.
Made up of bits of it sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah. It's a very
Tail.
cats love fairies. I know Emma had a tail earlier. I didn't know you had
Yeah,
a
I'm
tail,
so
Emma.
sorry if you could hear him
No,
yowling at the door. I was like,
couldn't.
oh my goodness me. And you know when you try to like ignore, but no, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Happy on my desk now.
Yeah.
Cats are fairy though.
Yeah,
Cats definitely
definitely.
come about when you talk about fairies, I think.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned gnomes earlier. It's like I know Nisa in was it Swedish folklore? One of the Scandinavian countries. They they're very tied to cats. Like they're
Mm.
the imagery as well. They're
Mm.
always with cats.
Interesting.
Mystical beings, felines, aren't you?
Oh yeah. So,
Yeah.
Claire, love to hear
Yeah,
about
Claire.
your
Oh, okay. Yeah. Before I do that, I'll just say a little bit about what the fairy and
yeah,
the sort of
please.
concept of it.
Because this is
So,
your brainchild.
yeah, but it's a collaborative
Mhm.
podcast. So I have fairy whispering, which I've done for about 3 years and been podcasting for over 3 years. And I wanted so fairy whispering, I absolutely love. I love the format of that. I love meeting people and speaking with them about their experiences and, people that artists, writers, etc., that connect with fairies. But I wanted to delve a little bit more deeply into fairy folklore, fairy experiences in a kind of a conversational way. And I met Anastasia through your wonderful podcast, Goblin Queen, and I've interviewed you for my podcast, and Emma's been a guest on Fairy Whispering as well. And you're both very passionate about what you do. And I thought, hmm, there's some good chemistry here with these people, and I really like them. We've been in contact for a while now with Emma. We've had a few conversations since I interviewed you on the podcast, and Anastasia, really admire what you do with your podcast. I thought this could be really good, so let's just go for it. And What the Fairy was born. And yeah, and we, as you said at the start, Anastasia, we've got lots of ideas, some interesting episodes coming up, and some more in the future. So yeah, and they're going to come out once a month. So you'll have them to look forward to. And there's also a Patreon with some additional content. So if you can't get enough of What the Fairy here, then you can go on to Patreon and there'll be various things there for you to explore as well. So yeah, me. Gosh.
The Fairy
So I
Whisperer.
Fairy Whisperer, yeah. Um Yeah, so I'm a fairy researcher. I'm an experiencer of paranormal and fairies, and I'm an artist and an author. I grew up, I grew up in the 1970s. Um, my family weren't at all interested in the paranormal, but because of I'm a creative person and just always been very sensitive to the other world. I've had some strange experiences that I can't explain since I was a child, but I couldn't speak to anyone about them. I could just express my connection really through my art. So I draw fantastical things as a child, dragons, fairies, love drawing princesses, that kind of thing. But my grandfather, on my dad's side, he was a wonderful storyteller. And both my grandparents on my dad's side grew up on Dartmoor, which has an amazing, rich folklore landscape and lots of paranormal associations. So, yeah, he grew up on Dartmoor. He had lots of stories, but my favourite one was the hairy hands. So I'd always ask him to tell me that story when I went to visit him. And he bought me some paranormal books when I was about 8 or 9 years old. Because my mum would be like, "Oh, I'll be watching Star Trek," or I loved. There's a series called Monkey that I really loved as a child. Do you remember that? And it was so
Monkey,
weird.
yeah.
Yes, it was so weird and bizarre and really horribly dubbed. But I loved it. And my mum would be like, "Why are you watching that?" She just didn't get it at all. My dad is very psychic and he's had lots of strange experiences, but he's also very skeptical. So he won't openly say, "Oh, yeah, I believe in the paranormal," but he has had some paranormal experiences. I've interviewed him for my podcast, actually. I need to re-release one of the episodes I did with him where he speaks about seeing his childhood friend when he was a teenager, which is very strange experience he had. But anyway, so yeah, my grandfather was my main sort of go-to for paranormal support, really. And I didn't have any visual fairy experiences until I'd left school because I shut all that down at school. I was like the weird kid. Um, I'm neurodiverse, so I was always a bit quiet. I didn't get the world at all. I was really happy before I went to school. And then when I started school, I was like, oh my God, what is this about? So I shut it all down to try and, yeah, fit in really. And then when I left school, it all kind of started coming out again, especially when I went after I'd finished my A levels. I went to art college and I started to draw fairies more. And then I had my first sort of what I call my first fairy experience that was visual was when I was about 18, 17 or 18. It's around 1990, 91. And I just briefly tell this because I am going to do an episode about it. But I stayed at a cottage with some friends of my dad and my sister, and my dad was there as well. And my sister and I shared a bedroom, and it was really dark. It was in a place called South Petherton, and it's a really old part of Somerset. It's not far from Glastonbury, so it's probably on the same ley lines and things.
Mm.
At the back of the cottage, there was a very old orchard. I think it's probably the first night we were there, so it's pitch black. My sister and I were sharing a double bed, and at the end of the bed, I could see, or we could see, I didn't realize or had forgotten that she saw it as well. There was a green light at the end of the bed, and it was just a few inches high. It wasn't a figure or anything, it was just a sort of like an oblong on its end. Strange, yeah, just unusual. There was absolutely no light sources or anything, and just couldn't explain it. So even asked the people that owned the cottage, told them about it the next day. They didn't know what it was. And it's only since the last few years when I've been talking to other people about their experiences, their fairy experiences. And Anastasia, you've done some episodes about green, the colour green and green lights as well.
With Emma, I've seen a green
With
green orb.
Emma and Emma, yeah, you've seen a green orb that I thought, oh, well, I think this was fairy because of the orchard out the back. And I think it's something to do with the land. Somebody else might explain it as a spirit or a UFO, but because of its size and because of the area we were in and the orchard and things, I thought, I wonder if this is, something to do with the orchard. Um, yeah, so that was my first visual experience. But I kept opening up to these experiences and closing it down. I just kept, getting to a stage where I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. And then I'd go off and do something else. Like I went to work in London or whatever, and it shut down again. But it was when I went to Australia when I was 25, and I worked with Aboriginal people in the north of Australia as well. And that landscape was so powerful that it just really opened up my connection to the landscape even more. So I've always been sensitive to atmospheres in buildings and places, and I dowse as well and can sense minerals and water and things under the ground. But going to Australia, that landscape is so immensely powerful that it just seemed to open my senses up a lot more. And so when I came back to Devon, it's like those senses were more fine-tuned. And yeah, sorry, just check where. So yeah, and I began to create fairy art again, made fairy figures and things. And then in 1999, I had this amazing auditory experience where I was staying with a boyfriend in Cornwall. He lived near Bodmin Moor, and it was towards the end of 1999, so it's like coming up for New Year's. And I woke up one night to get a drink, I think, and I could hear it was like an angelic choir. And I was walking around his house listening to things, listening to the central heating. Central heating wasn't on, just trying to debunk it. and I couldn't debunk it at all because I could still hear this angelic singing. And this is in like a village. It's called St. Clear, and it's on the edge of Bodmin Moor. And I just couldn't discount this experience at all in any way. So I thought it was angels at the time because I was more connected to angels. And now subsequently I think, or maybe it was to do with fairies because there are lots of old antiquities up there on that part of the mall. Yeah, so those were my first sort of early experiences between late that I would say were quite significant. And then around 2016, I decided I was going to commit to fairies, my fairy path. And I started to journal about my experiences and started to explore the landscape more, connect with fairies. Yeah, my connection just gradually intensified over time, and I had this experience of seeing a little. Well, I photographed a tree in a woodland on Dartmoor, and somebody said, "Oh, there's a little man in the tree," and I was like, "What?" And I looked at this picture. I was like, "Oh, yeah, there's a little man in the tree." And I instantly, as I zoomed in, I thought, "That's a pixie." I just instantly felt, that's a pixie. That's what they look like." And since then, that's been confirmed through talking to other people, other artists that have had drawn similar beings and identified them as pixies. Um, yeah, so and then through sort of lead up to COVID, I began to explore recording my experiences and meditations and things. And then after that, I through doing that, I moved towards creating a podcast. So that's really like a brief potted history of of yeah, how I got to researching fairies really and connecting with them. Mm.
And now they also are part of your everyday life for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think because of all the people I've spoken to and all the research and evidence that's out there and my experiences that I do believe in fairies. I just don't know what they are. And that's what I'm interested in is exploring that. What are fairies? Why do they seemingly reach out to us? Why are people having these experiences with them? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm really fascinated by. Yeah.
Yeah. What the fairy? What the
Yeah,
fairy?
what the fairy? Yeah.
Yeah. But I
I do
do,
like the
Yeah.
every
mystery.
time I hear
Yeah.
this, sorry, Anastasia,
It's okay.
I always find it so fascinating as well that like we're all sort of similar ages when a lot of these
Mm,
experiences happen, and
yeah.
when we shut down and we're creative, and I don't know, there seems to always be like a lot of similarities in
Mm,
people.
Yeah, and the the weird we love the weird kids. I think we were all
Yeah,
the weird kid as well. And
yeah.
I also had such a hard time at school. I hated going to school. Emma, you said you did too, and lots of people listening will relate to that too, especially
Mm,
who are more have these interests, in the paranormal and the supernatural and the unexplained. It's just yeah, it's just going to that I don't know, that structured, very material setting institution, if you will. It's very challenging for and these types of people are also very almost always creative people too.
mm,
So I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of connection
yeah.
between all of
And I've
that.
always drawn them and painted them and wrote
Yeah.
poetry about them. Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. And you can be a
Oh,
creative person and not be an artist too, you know. It's
yeah,
Yeah.
so
yeah, sure.
it's interesting that your dad is psychic. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's had a few, like I mentioned in the talk that I did on Phantom Cottages, that, the children that he saw.
Mm,
He's had experiences like that, but yeah, he questioned. I mean, it's good to question them, isn't it?
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just think, wow, that's just that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think
it's
that
how,
runs in families too.
yeah,
I
A
think
lot of
that sort
times,
of thing
yeah.
does. Yeah.
Hmm.
and it's not just fairies. I've had, I have a connection to spirit as well. So
Hmm.
human spirits. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's difficult to discern which is which sometimes.
Yeah,
That's,
because
I
it's a
mean,
vast umbrella, isn't it? I
yeah,
think
yeah.
to say if
So,
it's cryptid, a fairy, it's a human, it's a UFO.
Yeah.
yeah.
It can all be. There's a lot of similarities, isn't there, in the experiences?
Yeah.
Mm. And a lot of, yeah,
Maybe there isn't a difference at all. I mean, who knows? But
yeah.
there I do like the mysterious aspect of it. I like not knowing exactly
Mm,
what they are. And I think that's why I've always been drawn to like the unexplained is because I like that there are things in the world that we don't have answers to. Still,
yeah,
that's part of the
Yeah.
enchanting part of life to me.
it's exciting.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I always think how we say paranormal,
Hmm.
like it's parallel to the normal, but I think
Mm.
this stuff is so normal. And the more
Yeah,
you talk
it
about it,
is.
and the more you read about it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's not paranormal
No,
at all.
Yeah.
It's
no.
really normal, if that makes sense, for this stuff
Oh
to
yeah.
happen. It does happen, and it always has. You look back through
Mm.
history, throughout all the different cultures and countries around the world, when there was no communication, and there's stories and accounts from way
Mm.
back when, isn't there, all around the world?
Yeah. I'm interested in that the development of consciousness and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, how our modern lives are changing that because people used to use these skills, didn't they? Intuition and things, so for survival. So, and ritual and respecting people that had seership. They were like the shamans of the community, or they actively developed these abilities in children, didn't they? Some cultures, and some still do. So this is nothing new. It's just we've forgotten, and
That's it.
we're
Yeah.
remembering now. Mm.
There used to not be this divide yeah,
Yeah.
between the paranormal, the supernatural, and everyday life. It used to just be a part of life. And yeah, and with tribal cultures, I think you'll find that it's not like our culture. It's just not separate. It's more
Mm.
of the same.
Mm.
Getting to hear from indigenous, American people, it's like their perspective is just so a lot of times it's just so refreshing because it's unquestioning. Where I
Mm.
mean, even though I have this interest and I if I hear someone else's story, I don't doubt it at all. I still have this built-in system of doubt, especially for my own experiences and beliefs and stuff. It's frustrating.
No, I think it's good to be discerning,
Sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Use discernment. And I mean, my approach is I'm very accepting of people, but I'm also interested in understanding what it's all about. What is this phenomena? Because it's very much about us and the other world, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
this interaction.
Yeah, there's a
I
Yeah.
think
human
that's we were much more connected. We were together
Mm.
And we were very much one with nature, weren't we? And part of nature. The very
Yeah.
existence once would have relied on being in tune with nature. And I
Mm.
think that's part of it, really. We've
Yeah.
forgotten that side of ourselves
Yeah, I
as
agree. I mean, I think, yeah, I think that's a good point because I think sometimes a lot of these fears of this fear and this unknowing and this alienness about all these topics does come from our separation from nature. And I mean, people are probably are afraid of nature now. You know, people don't want to be out in nature. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely a connection.
well,
And
I'm sure you do. I think we've talked about this before, but like, do you like just even if you don't see anything or like necessarily like experience anything, do you like just to go to places out in nature, or it could be anywhere really, even a historical
mhm,
site, and sense the energy there
yeah,
as well? Because that's part of it too, I think, isn't it? Like we were saying about ley lines earlier, and I don't know, just even history of the past, that's happened on that land,
yeah.
things like that.
I
It all leaves like an
I feel
imprint
an
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel an immediate shift when I walk into like a wooded area or in, somewhere with nature. It feels different and it feels good.
yeah.
It's very refreshing. So I had to brave the heat that we're having right now the other day and just go out for a little bit and sweat my ass off because it had been so long
Yeah.
and it was great. It was a good experience just to go be outside for an hour or so.
Mm.
Really helps, doesn't it?
Mm.
I mean, that's why I went to Dartmoor yesterday because I thought I just need to fill my cup with, there's so much pollution, electromagnetic pollution around us, isn't there, in our homes and there's phone towers. But when you go to a really wild space and the air's fresher and there's just a feeling of, I don't know, it's just peace. I just feel this peace.
Yeah.
It's so
I always
important.
thought
Mm.
nature is like my spirituality. Like, I don't have a religion or anything I follow, but just like if I worship anything, it's nature and trees and
Yeah, nature
Yeah.
is my church.
right, exactly. So,
Ah,
yeah. So
it's,
just a little glimpse into I don't know our perspective, and what I don't know the lens we're viewing fairies through as we roll out these episodes and bring out these topics and stuff. Yeah, it's a mixture of genuine interest, but also personal experience and understanding. I think.
It's really
yeah,
cool to like dig into these topics a little bit more and yeah, share knowledge, learn stuff, learn more about each topic as it comes up, and
yeah, and different perspectives that we all have
yeah,
as well. So yeah, and yeah, just really discussing it as if if we were meeting up in a cafe or something.
Yeah, I think that's what we're saying. We're hoping that there's it's not it's not a podcast where you sit down and maybe and really listen and focus. I don't know. It's more of a casual, personal vibe,
Yeah,
which sometimes that's what you need. I mean, I put on podcasts um like at night if I'm at home and it just feels like someone's there with you. You just feel like you have company or something, good company.
mm.
So hopefully.
But for all three of us as well to go through a point in our lives where we've always loved this stuff and
yeah.
we felt that
Mm-hmm.
we couldn't talk about it, we kind of hid
Mm.
it from the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
world, to be openly here now with you three and obviously all of the listeners now openly talking about it. Oh, it's just so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
It is.
big step, isn't it? Coming out
Yeah,
of the fairy closet.
yeah.
I've done
Yes.
it.
It's liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, hopefully it will resonate with people or just be enjoyable.
Mm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing your stories. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really cool to hear everyone's stories. And obviously that's the condensed version. You can
Mhm.
probably each have an hour to talk at least. Especially someone like
Yeah.
Emma, that's so many
Yeah.
experiences throughout your life. But those will be fed in, those come into play in each episode, really. So
Mm.
it's pretty cool. It's a good mix. Yeah.
Okay.
So just yeah, that'll be, this is episode 1 of What the Fairy. Just we actually recorded another episode first to be our first episode, but then we thought maybe it'd be better to do kind of an introduction and introduce ourselves, especially because we kept trying to introduce ourselves and it just wasn't working out. So we just needed that dedicated space to introduce ourselves. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks
Yeah.
for
So
listening. Yeah.
much, yeah, much more to come. So yeah, tune in and other topics. Yeah, we have, yeah, stones and books and altars and tons of more ideas. Whole
The
bucket of
list.
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've got any ideas or any feedback as well, you can comment on this
Mm-hmm.
episode wherever you're listening. And we do have an email, which I'll put in the description for this episode as well. And you can find us on Instagram. None of us are really keen on social media, so probably email or comment on the episode is the best way to contact us.
Yeah. And experiences too, if you have them. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I was thinking if there's any suggestions of like fairy related topics that people would like us to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Anything you got. All right. Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you, Emma. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Be back soon. Stay magical.
Stay magical.
Stay magical. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
What the